replay or catching this live, comment below, transform your life, right? And that may be the goal for so many of us. Whether you're working towards a personal goal, a financial goal, a professional goal, or maybe you're looking to reinvent yourself. Maybe you're looking to change different aspects of who you are. You're looking to better yourself. This self awareness tip will assist you on that journey. The goal for us is to be better. The goal for us is to do greater. The goal for us is to experience more. And as I've talked about on many broadcasts, I'll say it again today. Every new level in your life will always require a greater version of you, right? And in other words, we have to make the commitment to improve ourselves, to be better, right? There's a goal that I have, and that's to be 1% better than who I was yesterday, right? So ultimately, we have to dedicate ourselves to that journey. Now, a part of that, as we're aiming for more, striving for greater, there's going to be opposition. There's going to be challenges. There may be some form of resistance. And if we are not careful, right, that opposition could force us in a position where we feel like giving up. Maybe it's discouragement or doubt. Maybe it's that gratification has been delayed and we become impatient and we find ourselves in this emotional experience. And then we're in a fork in the road as it relates to whether we move forward or we stop and resort back to what is familiar. Today, I want to talk about, again, a self-awareness tip that's going to help us transform our lives. And we're going to go to the root of it. Now, we don't have time to truly unpack everything as it relates to today's topic of discussion, and I'll get to that in a moment. But let's scratch the surface. And I believe as we scratch the surface, I'm going to give us a call to action as we step into this week's opportunities that will help begin this process of us mastering our mindset, particularly in those moments when we find ourselves conflicted, when you're in a tug of war with many of those forces that aim to stop you from living your best life. Before we dive into it, quick story to kind of paint the picture for us, right? For those of us that have been following me for quite some time, you all know that I spent many years competing in the sport of boxing, right? It's something that I'm passionate about. The sport of boxing has gifted me with so many lessons, right? So many qualities like discipline and focus and the desire to be a better me. But I can recall when I initially started training, right? My cousin was my trainer and still to this day is my trainer. But at the time, Cedric was training out of this gym, right? And if you know anything about the city of Indianapolis, there's like a smaller community within Indianapolis by the name of Broad Ripple. And there was this gym in the heart of Broad Ripple, right off of the Monon Trail. And in this gym, right, there's a lot of heavy lifters, bodybuilders. I mean, it's like that rugged gym. But in the corner of that gym, there was isolated heavy bags and a boxing ring, right? And when you came into the gym, it smelled like a gym, right? I'm just giving context here. And I can recall as I was training, right, for a few months at a time, Cedric would begin to throw me into the ring to prepare me to begin to compete, you know, in different competitions, right? And there's this thing that they call sparring. For those that may not know what that word is, sparring is like practice, quote unquote, even though you don't practice boxing. But for lack of a better term, to kind of paint the picture again, he'd throw me into the ring into these different sparring sessions. Now, unfortunately for me, right, the individuals that would typically come to train and compete in the sport of boxing at our gym weren't necessarily in the same weight class as me. The vast majority of these individuals were a lot heavier than me. I competed in the welterweight division, right? I averaged right around 150 to 160 pounds. There was a lot of heavyweights, light heavyweights, some super heavyweights that would compete for our camp, right? So Cedric was like, hey, there's nobody else that you can begin to spar with, so I'm going to go ahead and throw you in there, champ. You can hold your own, right? You step in there, leverage the tools that you've been developing and working on, and you'll be all right, right? Now, granted, the key to boxing, the sweet science family, is to hit and not get hit, right? You have to begin to operate in all the space of the ring and meet that objective, right? And there's a number of ways that you could begin to do this, right? The sweet science, again, is all about you hitting somebody and not getting hit. You can use your reach, right? Maybe your arms are a little longer than your opponent, and you can begin to understand the distance between you and the person that you're competing with. So you use your jab to stay at a distance. Maybe you can use your feet and your legs, right? You're quick on your toes and you're angling yourself and creating different positions, right? It's all about positioning as it relates to you striking that target. Or maybe you can use your torso, right? And you're sliding under punches, right? And slipping different jabs and working your way in to get your shots. Or maybe you can use your shoulders, your elbows, your forearms, and you're allowing the momentum of your opponent to hit your body and you roll it. And that person now has to allow their momentum to flow through your shoulders and you can counter them in different ways, right? Now, he threw me in the ring on this particular day with this heavyweight. And I remember it like it was yesterday, right? I'm young, I'm ambitious, I'm ready to go. So he throws me in there and he's like, stick to the plan, Dave. Stick to the plan. I want you to use your jab, use your speed, work the outside. Don't get caught up in the pocket and trying to go punch for punch with this individual because he's a lot stronger. He's a lot bigger than you, right? I need you to work the perimeter. That was the instruction that Cedric gave me, right? Now, granted, the first few rounds, I'm using my jab, using my speed. I'm feeling comfortable. I got this thing down pack. I can recall it was like the 4th or the 5th round. And mind you, these are 3-minute rounds. Side note, if you ain't in shape, 3 minutes can seem like a long time. So you got to be in shape. But back to the story at hand, right? Right around the 4th and the 5th round, I can recall getting caught, right? And what I mean by getting caught, I got hit directly. Caught me. And it was one of those shots, right? If you've never been hit, sometimes you may get hit with those shots and you see those stars beginning to blink in your eyes. And for a moment, right, you're kind of dizzy and you get off track. And I bounced back. But in that time, family, again, I was young. I was ambitious. My mindset was, I got to get him back. I got to get mine in, right? He got one in. I got to get mine in. And at that moment, family, the game plan was thrown out the window. My mind was focused on, I got to get my hit back. I got to get my hit back. And every time I tried to get my hit back, this heavyweight used his weight and would counter and catch me slipping. And then the frustration would begin to build, family. And I can recall going back to the corner after the rounds, and Cedric was like, Dave, stick to the plan. What are you doing? Keep your head in the ring. Stick to the plan. But my mind was, hey, he caught me. I got to get him back. I was frustrated, down to the point where I was angry. Round after round, I was still trying to get my hit back, right? I'm talking about a clean hit. 8 rounds after that, family, we wrapped it up. And I felt some type of way. Extremely frustrated, extremely upset. Then Cedric pulled me to the side and he said, what did you learn? He said, what did you learn? And in that moment, I didn't feel like being coachable, right? I didn't feel like learning a lesson, but I knew at that time Cedric was teaching me a lesson. He said, Dave, what did you learn? And I simply sat there and Cedric said, when you're angry and when you're emotional, you're not thinking. You're not thinking clearly. And in fact, as I think about that, family, maybe we're not in the ring, right? But in many ways, we're competing, we're fighting something that's aiming to stop us from being at our best, from experiencing more, from climbing that ladder with our career, from building that business. There's some form of opposition. And in many cases, it can hit us, right? And we often have a game plan, right? It's like Mike Tyson once said, everybody's got a plan. Everybody's got a strategy until they get hit, right? Everybody has a plan of action. Everybody has mapped out what steps they are going to take, and they're determined and they're focused and they're passionate and they're motivated and excited until they get chin checked. And it's in those moments that our emotions will begin to arise. And for most of us, what often happens is we allow our emotions to overpower our intelligence. In fact, this is the lesson that I want to get across as it relates to today's conversation. For us to truly make progress, you cannot allow your emotions to overpower your intelligence. You cannot allow your emotions to blind you of your goals. You cannot allow your emotions to manipulate your behavior. And I get it, like this can be a challenge because we often are emotional beings. Emotions are a part of the life experience, but we have to be aware of the influence of the emotional state that we are in. Psychologists have done studies and they've researched how emotions in many ways can reduce our cognitive abilities. Certain emotional states that you may find yourself in, if you're not careful, right? In other words, it dumbs you down. How many of us in this broadcast, maybe watching this live or catching this on the replay, right? You were angry and you were upset, right? And in that moment, you did something that was outside of your personality. In that moment, you did something that was beyond or outside of your character. It's because our emotions can often influence us in ways where ultimately we lose control. We lose focus. In fact, one of the rules of our mind is that when there's a battle between emotion and logic, emotion will tend to win. But if we are going to be extraordinary leaders, if we are going to move beyond what is and into what can be, we have to learn to master our emotions. In fact, comment below, master your emotions. Here's where I'm going to go with this conversation, okay? Again, we're going to scratch the surface on mastering our emotions, but I want to give us a call to action as we step into this week. But again, before I do that, as we're commenting below, mastering your emotions, let's understand where our emotions are coming from, family, okay? When we experience something, any day, any time, any moment, we experience emotions, whether it be joy, excitement, fear, anxiety, doubt, insecurity. We can often feel a number of different emotions, right? On any given day, you can experience dozens of emotions. But we have to understand, family, that we create the emotions that we experience based upon the meaning that we attach to what's happening. In other words, it's not the experience that's creating the emotion. It's our personal interpretation of what's happening in the world around us, or even what's happening within us, that's determining how we feel, right? Once you create a meaning in your mind, okay, let me make it plain for us. Once we create a meaning in our mind, this will stimulate an emotion. Now, depending upon what emotion you stimulate, again, I want to place an emphasis on the word you. Depending upon what emotion you stimulate and create, this will determine whether you react to the situation or you respond to the situation. And we'll get to the difference between the two of those. But before we do that, let me preface it by saying this. It's important for us to understand that there's no such thing as bad emotions. In fact, comment below, there's no bad emotions. I want to make that clear, okay? Again, there's some uncomfortable emotions, some emotions that we don't necessarily want to experience, but we have to understand beneath every single emotion, right, there's a need that we have. In fact, your emotions are not dictators, they're indicators. They're indicating what's happening within you, how you are interpreting a situation, how you're viewing the circumstance at hand, right? And this is why we should not suppress our emotions. We should not avoid our emotions because they're signaling something to us. They're communicating information that can be valuable to us, that can shift our perspective, that can help us grow and evolve, that can help us become better individuals, right? Again, emotions are not dictators. They are indicators. Again, we don't have time to dive deeper into that topic, but I wanted to kind of plant that seed into our minds as we're stepping into this week, right? You may feel that anxiety emotion. You may feel that fearful emotion. You may feel that doubt, right? You may feel that disappointment or that discouragement is signaling something to you. We have to be aware in those moments to process that information effectively. And I'll get to that here in a moment. But ultimately, let's embrace how we feel. So therefore, we can create the change that is needed. Right. And that's the point. Any emotional state that you're in, particularly when you feel uncomfortable, is an indication that a change is needed. You know what I mean? Like, I'm discouraged that I should be further than where I am right now. And because I'm looking at the lack of progress, I feel discouraged. Well, internally, right, that feeling may be indicating, hold on, D1. Maybe you need to change how you're viewing the situation. You may not be where you want to be, but you're not where you used to be. Or maybe you have an unrealistic perspective as it relates to the process that you're stepping into. Maybe you feel as if everything can happen instantly, right? We live in this fast and quick generation. You want that instant gratification, that drive-through breakthrough, that overnight success. And ultimately, internally, that information that you're receiving is saying, hold on. There's a process that must be endured. You got to change the way you look at this and how you're interpreting your overall experience, right? But as it relates to us stepping into this week's opportunities, right? There's going to be moments where you're challenged. There's going to be moments when it's difficult. There's going to be moments when you're tested. What we don't want to do is place ourselves in a position where we're reacting to what's happening. Because like me in that boxing ring, when I would get hit, I wasn't thinking. I lost sight of the objective. I lost sight of the strategy that was tried and true. I've done it before. I was dominating the first rounds. I was killing it within that space, family. But when I got hit, I got emotional. When I got emotional, I didn't think. And the same is true for so many of us, right? Like, you've been working, you've been seeing the results, but you got hit. You got knocked off course. And now you've been positioned into a space where you're almost ready to make a permanent decision that's based upon a temporary emotion or feeling. No. Take a moment to pause, right? Take a moment to process what's happening. In fact, evaluate how you're looking at the situation, how you're viewing the circumstance at hand. One question that you can ask yourself that will help you shift your perspective in those moments is simply, is there a better way for me to look at this? You know, I'm upset, I'm angry, I'm discouraged, I'm feeling hopeless or powerless, whatever the case may be. Take a moment, right, to simply ask, is there a better way for me to view the situation at hand? You can't see the picture if you're in the frame. When you ask yourself that question, family, you're stepping away from the situation, right? You're removing yourself from the emotions that are attached to that experience. And now you can take an objective view of your subjective experience and make a sound decision. And this is the difference between reacting to what's happening around us and responding to the challenge at hand. When I react to a situation, Theo, I'm allowing my emotions to make my decisions for me. And in many cases, the emotional state that you are in is not in alignment with where you're aiming to be. Discouragement is not going to help you get to success, right? Fear is not going to help you get to prosperity. Ultimately, you have to align yourself with what it is that you want. And when we do this, ultimately, we're positioning ourselves to respond to what's happening. Again, I'm going to process how I'm feeling. Is it true, right? Is there any validity to my feelings and emotions? Is it stemmed from a flawed perception that I have? Am I looking at it with a lack of information, right? Am I approaching this scenario or this experience in an effective mindset, right? As we take a view of what we're experiencing and what we're encountering in any given moment, and we process that effectively, now you can respond. You take the information at hand and you ask yourself, what decision do I need to make that's going to put me in alignment with my vision, my purpose, and my goals? What can I do now that will help me stay on course, stay consistent, remain disciplined to create the results that I envision? You see the difference between the two of those? I'm angry, I'm upset, I feel like giving up. In comparison to, hold on, I made a few mistakes. What can I learn from this? How can I rise above this? What can I do differently to create a different result? That's keeping me in alignment with progress, right? That's placing me in alignment with my vision, my purpose, and my goals. And this self-awareness tip, family, will help improve your overall life. I'm talking about your mindset, your well-being, the mental state that you are in. Because emotions, again, are a part of our day-to-day life. Every experience that we have, there's emotions that we're experiencing. And if you're not careful, those uncomfortable emotions can place you in a position where you feel like giving up. You feel discouraged. You feel like throwing in the towel. We've all been there. But in those moments, you've got to be conscious. You've got to be aware. You've got to master yourself, right? Don't allow these emotions to influence you to the point that you quit. No, in that moment, you conquer how you feel, unpack it constructively, and then make a sound decision that moves you closer towards where you want to be. As I wrap up this conversation, family, I'm hoping that this is making sense. Here's the call to action. This week, I challenge us. Be intentional. Be diligent about responding to what's happening in the world around you. Don't be spontaneous, right? Don't be impulsive. When you feel the emotion, you make a decision. No, process what's happening, right? For many of us, this may take some time, right? This is a skill that we develop, but we have to understand you are in control of how you feel. D1 can't control what's happening in the world around me, right? I can't control if the next man or the next woman, or they like me, or they embrace who I am, or they agree with my mission, or they validate my gifts or my talents. I can't control that. No. What I can control is my inner experience. I can control how I view the situation, the meaning, the interpretation that I attach to that experience, and ultimately the decision that I make after I process all of that information, right? What I'm saying is, when we learn to gain control of our inner experience, you'll position yourself to improve the quality of your life. But it starts and it ends with you. It starts and it ends with you. To that one, to that leader, to that success warrior that's tuning in, who has historically allowed your emotions to make your decisions. Right now, I challenge you in this very moment, make the executive decision. You're going to take your life back. I'm going to take command over my life. I'm no longer going to make fear-based decisions. I'm no longer going to allow anxiety to rule my life. I'm no longer going to allow depression to rob me of my joy. I'm no longer going to allow my doubt to place me in a position where I feel intimidated and unwilling to raise my hand for certain opportunities. No, I want you to process that information constructively. What are the needs that are not being met on the inside of you? What void do you have that hasn't been filled? And actively work to master your emotions in that moment. And as you make decisions, you make sure you're intentional about aligning your choices and your daily decisions with your vision, your purpose, and your goals. In other words, you're going to feel some uncomfortable emotions. We can't get rid of them, right? Fear is always going to pay you a visit. Doubt may creep in. That imposter syndrome, it may be hanging around for a little while, right? But you don't have to be controlled by those forces. You don't have to be manipulated by those emotions. You have the capacity, right, to create positive change in your life. And this starts and it ends with you mastering your emotions. So the call to action is to redirect your focus when you feel uncomfortable emotions. How are you interpreting the experience? What's the meaning that you're attaching to what's happening in this moment? And how can you make decisions that will keep you aligned with where you aim to be in life and the life that you personally aim to experience? If you slid into this broadcast and I was unable to give you a shout out, be sure to comment below. And if, in fact, this is your first time, or maybe it's your first time in a long time, I welcome you and I want to shout you out as well. Put a number 1 in the chat and then place your first name afterward. Again, number 1 in the chat and then place your first name afterward. I'll be sure to shout you out at some point in time before we wrap up today's conversation. If you found value in today's discussion, put some fists up. Let your boy know that you were picking up what I was putting down during today's session. I'm hoping that somebody somewhere benefited from today's discussion. Again, one self-awareness tip that will transform your life. When you master your emotions, you'll position yourself to redefine the possibilities in your life. Theo, first time in a long time, my brother. Hope all is well with you. One of the, not the, but the original dream catchers. Goes all the way back to our Periscope days. I'm hoping all is well with you and the family, for sure. Rosalind is in the building, also one of the original dream catchers tapped in. I'm hoping all is well with your sis. Master your emotions, Marie. Leslie's in the building. Great day to you. Hope all is well and glad to have you tapped in live. Mia says, this definitely moved me. Excellent. Joel, I see you, brother. I'll be in touch. We got some updates coming soon on the project. I'm going to keep you posted, brother. We got some great things unfolding. But for those of us that benefited from today's discussion, I see you, Mom. If you would please, everyone, share this out with the people that you personally care about. Again, you never know how something that we discussed during today's conversation can benefit someone that you know. All of us can benefit from learning how to master our emotions, right? Improving our emotional intelligence. So please share this out. If you're watching this on Facebook, Twitter, shout out to everybody watching this on Twitter. Again, I guess X, formerly known as Twitter. You may not be able to engage in the chat, but you can still retweet this out. Everybody watching this on YouTube, hit the like button if you would, please. I would appreciate that. Again, it goes a long way in the algorithm. And then share the link out with at least two people that you personally know. And for everybody watching this on LinkedIn, you too can share this out with your professional network. If we have yet to connect on other social media platforms, what are we waiting for, family? I'm at the number one Gibson. That includes Instagram, Facebook, again, Twitter, now known as X. If you're on LinkedIn, be sure to connect with me there. And for those that have yet to subscribe to my YouTube channel, be sure to tap in. That's where all of my long-form content is available. And then the website, elevationisAmust.com, for speaking information, coaching information, all of the free resources that are available on the website. Take advantage of those resources, whether it relates to personal growth tools, mindset strategies, and success practices that you can integrate into your day-to-day life. I often share those on my growth newsletter that comes out every Thursday, so be sure to subscribe. And you can subscribe at elevationisAmust.com. With all of that being said, let's wrap this thing up, family. You got dreams to catch and success to create. So therefore, we each got to be busy being great as we step into this magnificent Monday, right? Let's use the word magnificent. Let's make this a remarkable day. If you find yourself in a challenging situation or a difficult moment, just understand that this too shall pass, right? It's only temporary. So like I mentioned earlier, don't make a permanent decision that's based upon a temporary feeling, a temporary circumstance, because this too shall pass, right? Tough times don't last, but tough people do. So as it gets tougher, I challenge you to get rougher, right? Be strong, stay solid, remain disciplined, keep the focus. Continue to challenge yourself to grow and improve, and understand if you keep persisting, eventually you will succeed. But you got to keep your mind locked in on what it is that you want, right? Don't allow those uncomfortable emotions. Don't allow those negative emotions to blind you of who you truly are and what's possible for your life. I encourage you and I challenge you today to master your focus. Focus on the good. Focus on the growth. Focus on how you can move your life forward. Don't be overwhelmed by the problems. Train your mind to find solutions. Don't get upset because you got told no. Stay focused and find your yes. If that door doesn't open, I want you to bust down that wall and create your own opportunity. That's the mindset we got to have, family. You're built for this, and never forget it, okay? If nobody else tells you that they love you today, remember, your brother from another mother, D1 Gibson, has nothing but love for each and every single one of you. With all of that being said, let's make this an extraordinary week. In fact, I challenge you today, on this Monday, and every single day this week, be effective, be successful, live with some passion, and most importantly, family, if you would, please join in with your boy. 3 pounds to your chest. 1, 2, 3. I want you to be powerful. It's your brother from another mother, David Gibson, checking out. We'll be back at it next week, Monday morning, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Peace.
I can hear the message loud and clear. I'm gonna make it. I can see my shot is here, so now I'm gonna take it. Gotta get out, time to stand up, get loud, time to rise up off the floor. And I'm stronger than ever now, can't hold me down no more. I'm waking up, 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 I'm waking up. So I'ma do it right now, yeah, I'ma do it right now.